wrap up hour number one of the program. Appreciate you being here on this Tuesday edition of the show. Free agency still ongoing in the NFL. Still some names out there. So what's next for the Arizona Cardinals? Yesterday landed Josh Sweat, one of the 3 Tier 1 players on the Athletics big board. The other player, Milton Williams, they were heavily involved in talks to land him before he ended up going to the New England Patriots on a deal for $26 million a season. So what's next? Well, I think in order to have that conversation, let's go back to the list. Our list. What we said this team needed to accomplish this offseason. Now, we had the non-negotiables. We said edge was a non-negotiable. Check. Wide receiver, backup quarterback, interior defensive line, right guard. Just some of the positions that come to mind for me that are still left for this team to address this offseason. So let's do the thing. Let's go position by position, and let's see who is still available in free agency at these spots. Well, after missing on Milton Williams and after Jonathan Allen went to Minnesota today on a 3-year, $60 million deal, and by the way, Minnesota is having just a really, really interesting offseason so far, free agency. I'm going to pull them up real quick just so I can go with what they've done. Re-signed Byron Murphy, re-signed Aaron Jones, right? Kept their own guys. Then they got their punter back on a 1-year deal, but Theo Jackson, safety. They get Will Fries and Ryan Kelly for their interior offensive line. Will Fries, one of the names we talked about here on this show. And then they signed Jonathan Allen to a deal today, 3-year, $51 million deal, maxes out at $60 million. Trenches, man. Trenches, trenches, trenches. Interior offensive line, center, guard, center, defensive tackle. That's where they're using their big dollars. $88 million for Will Fries, $51 million for Jonathan Allen. They gave $54 million to Byron Murphy. Super impressed with what they've done so far. So after Jonathan Allen, you've got Javon Hargrave still out there. DJ Jones, Poona Ford already off the board. So Javon Hargrave, the only player that is in one of the first 3 tiers on the Athletics big board, still available. So after that, you're taking chances. After that, you're throwing darts at a dartboard. Old friend Calais Campbell? Anybody interested in a Calais Campbell reunion? Just some of the names that are available at the defensive tackle spot. So not a lot of name value there that could help this team. Wide receiver, well, they brought back Zay Jones. And I said a little bit earlier when I mentioned that they brought him back that I would touch on this later on, and later on is now. I guess because he's familiar with what's going on here, you wanted to bring him back, and they didn't give him a ton of money. I think it was a 1-year, $4 million deal, if I remember seeing the reports correctly. But I still think they need more at that group. I don't think you can say, oh, well, we just brought back Zay Jones, everything's okay. They need an upgrade. They need a number 2 wide receiver, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to bet on Zay Jones and him being comfortable entering year 2 with this regime, year 2 in this system, that he's going to elevate himself to that number 2 spot. I'm sorry. I'm going to believe it when I see it, and with some of the names that are still out there, I would pursue an upgrade. Stephon Diggs still out there. You have to question the medicals. You have to question what his health is. Keenan Allen. I don't think a reunion with DeAndre Hopkins is in the cards, but he is a free agent. Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett. Those are guys in the first couple of tiers on the Athletics big board. You want to take some darts? Elijah Moore, Demarcus Robinson, Tim Patrick, Noah Brown. Those are some of the names that are available at the wide receiver group. So comparing the 2 positions, comparing defensive tackle and wide receiver, you'd feel a lot better about going after a wide receiver. More options there. Defensive tackle, you might have to save that one for the draft. And in hour number 2 of the program, we're going to talk about how the draft plans changed a little bit for the Arizona Cardinals. Guard. Here's who's left. Mekhi Becton. Tevin Jenkins. Now, he moved into left guard after being a tackle. Do you feel comfortable switching him to the right side? He's played both tackle spots. Do you feel comfortable moving him inside? We've talked about him as a potential option as well. Brandon Scherf. There is a veteran right guard. Started every game at right guard in 3 seasons for the Jags. So if you wanted a veteran presence there, that's a tier 4 player. Kevin Zeitler, Will Hernandez, you could just bring him back. Again, you feel a lot better about that group than you do the defensive tackle group. Quarterback. I've mentioned Gardner Minshew as a potential option, but Mac Jones is still out there. Marcus Mariota is still out there. Jameis Winston's still out there. Jacoby Brissett's still out there. You've got all sorts of names all across the board of guys who check the boxes at backup quarterback. You've got guys that have starting experience. You have guys that have been with multiple organizations and have shown an ability to go in there, not cause any problems, be a professional, be everything that you want your backup quarterback to be, which is just don't be a distraction. Just be there, helmet ready to go in case you're called upon. You don't need a backup quarterback that's going to make a ton of noise and is going to cause issues for you on a regular basis. But you want somebody that provides you with a little bit of a higher floor in case Kyler Murray has to miss a couple of games throughout the course of the year. You've got names there. You've got Marcus Mariota. You've got Jameis Winston. You've got Jacoby Brissett. You got Trey Lance. You got Gardner Minshew, who I don't think is technically released yet. That'll probably happen tomorrow when the new league year opens, so you can add him to this list a little later on. And I've thrown him out as an option that I would be a fan of this team bringing in. But options across the board. So what does this team prioritize now? What is next on this list? To me, I would maybe try to take a swing because the defensive tackle market, not that great, right? I just gave you all those names. And I know for me, none of them really jumped off the page. Javon Hargrave would, but I don't know how likely that is. But you know what would jump off the page for me? Going out and seeing what Joey Bosa would want in free agency. Seeing what DeMarcus Lawrence would want. Azeez Ojulari, Dante Fowler Jr., Chason, Josh Uche, Matt Judon. Guys that are still out there and still available that you can add to this group. And again, shift your expectations with some of these guys. You're not bringing them in to be the past version of themselves. You're bringing them in to be a piece, right? You bring in Matt Judon, who's part of the Tier 8 bucket. And they define the Tier 8 bucket as veterans who might be near the end, role players, former draft crushes who haven't panned out yet. You're not asking Matt Judon to be the guy that he was in New England. You're asking him to be a part of a group and bring in some veteran leadership alongside Josh Sweat. Now, maybe you don't pick Matt Judon. That's just an example. Maybe you pick somebody else that you want to bring back or bring in to the fold to add to this group. But you need to add somebody. And I don't think the defensive tackle market is shaping up in a way that feels good for the Cardinals to take a swing. And so I don't think you can rest and do nothing with the rest of your cap space. Because so far, Zay Jones, $4 million, okay, take that off the list. $19 million in contract for Josh Sweat, okay, take that off the list. They started with a ton of money. They started with a lot of money, the third most money in the league entering free agency. So they've got money to spend. They've got ways to improve this team. Backup quarterback, although that market I think will take some time as these other quarterback dominoes can fall. And again, you haven't missed out on anything there. If you choose to dip your toe in that water, okay, no problem. Wide receiver, I think there are plenty of options to get somebody in here to help bring in a veteran presence, help raise the floor of that room. Plenty of options. Again, you haven't really missed a whole lot there. Chris Godwin was never leaving. If the Patriots offer, they tried to blow him out of the water with a deal that was for way more money than what he got to go back to Tampa. And he didn't leave. You were not convincing him to leave. But still plenty of options. You haven't missed out on any big names. Darius Slayton went back to the Giants. That was a popular name for us here on this show, but I'm not going to lose sleep over that, especially with some of the other options that are available. You haven't missed out yet, but you can't just call it a day. You can't just say, oh, Josh Sweat, we're going to re-sign some of our guys. We're good. Great offseason. Great work, everybody. See ya in training camp. You can't say that. This team has flaws. This team needed an additional wide receiver last season. This team needed multiple pass rushers last season. This team needs a better backup quarterback. They need all of this. This season can't get derailed because they have to turn to Clayton Tune for 3 or 4 games, and he's not able to get it done. You can't have your season go down the tubes because of that. You have to have a good backup plan. Now, you still have the draft. You still have all those picks, but I need some veteran presence. I need some guys who have been there, done that. I have a very important year coming up. So I love it. The aggressiveness I asked for, the big splash that we all asked for, they finally broke through that wall and made that type of move. Overjoyed, right? But the work can't stop there. And I'm not complaining. There's still time. Still names out there. Let's see what this picture looks like when it's all said and done. But there are still positions for this team to go out there and get, and there are still players at those positions that make some sense. So let's see what they're able to do here over the next couple of days.